Hey everyone, it's Ashley Bernardi. I'm founder of Nardi Media, and I'm so excited to introduce a new series that I find very important, near and dear to my heart, called On the Frontlines, where I'm interviewing my journalist friends in a time of massive global crisis and uncertainty about what it is like to cover the coronavirus. And today I'm so excited to introduce my friend Anna Miller. She's a senior health reporter at Business Insider. Anna, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's get down to it. But first, I want to know, how are you doing? How, like, personally, professionally, how are you?
All things considered, I'm doing really well. I am a person who goes stir crazy, but by noon on Saturday, if I haven't left the house yet. So I was anticipating breaking long before now, and I've actually found that I'm doing really well. I think a lot of it has to do with having a job that's really needed and keeping me super busy. And I feel like I really have a purpose. So the days fly by. I cannot relate to people who are bored right now. And yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Healthy.
I am so glad to hear that. And I'm also want to thank you for, you're right, you are serving a major purpose right now, because everyone who is stuck at home is needing information about the virus, about what to do, how to take care of themselves, what comes next. And this is you on the front line. So let's talk about your role as a reporter and what you're seeing, and just tell me about what it's like day to day to cover the coronavirus, and how your role has evolved and changed since this crisis broke.
Wow, yeah, a lot has changed, as it has for everyone, no matter if you still have a job or not, of course. So I'm very lucky that I even have a job, let alone one that I'm really enjoying and I feel like is needed right now. But yeah, it is very different. I used to cover all kinds of things, usually 1 or 2 stories a day, ranging from fitness, nutrition, reproductive health, the latest medical studies coming out. And for the past probably 3 weeks, I have written about nothing other than the coronavirus and COVID-19. And I'm certainly not alone. We have almost, I think, 50 people, 50 reporters and editors dedicated just to covering coronavirus at Business Insider and Insider. And then, hundreds more who are writing about it tangentially to their original roles, because the sports team no longer has sports to write about. Politics is of course involved in this. There is no beat that is untouched. So it's been a really interesting and cool experience to see the whole newsroom come together. And it's really required a lot of awesome leadership from our editors, in terms of who's covering what when. We've got a big spreadsheet going at all hours. We have at least 3 Slack channels for different parts of coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, I get it. I guess if I go through kind of a day in the life, now I'm getting up, in time to start working at 9. I've actually been sleeping in a lot later because I used to have to, get into the office, and I would do a workout first. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now I'm actually sleeping great, which helps. But yeah, in the morning, it's usually check the spreadsheet of what's still up for grabs, of what needs to be covered. We are a 24-hour around the world operation as well. So when we wake up, the London team has already been at it for a few hours. So we see, kind of what they're seeing on their radar that they're not going to be able to cover before their day ends. And then when we log off on the East Coast, the LA team is still up for another 3 hours, and then they'll toss to the Australian team, and it's really round the clock. So every morning I still have a lot to catch up on, even if I've been watching the news till 10 p.m. And then it's kind of usually 1 quick hit or 2 a day on these, whether it's new research or something else that's come up. And then what I've really liked to do, and will continue to hopefully do a lot of these, is more of the analytical pieces and profiles of people who have different experiences with the illness, whether they're patients or healthcare professionals, or anybody else who has something to say about how the virus has affected them.
Wow. And I think in some way, everyone is affected by the virus. It's whether you're sick or not. It's like, Everyone, we're all in this together. Okay, so tell me, I'm curious, like for your readership, what have been some of the stories that have really resonated the most with your readers, that readers are like maybe the best performing COVID related topics? We'll start there.
Sure. One story that did exceptionally well and it just kept staying on top of our list was a story written by a woman in Italy, a mom in Italy, and she freelanced a piece for us that my colleague Eleanor Goldberg, who's the parenting editor, sourced and edited. And this Italian mom basically wrote, you know, here's what I wish Americans would follow. Here's what I didn't do in time.
Yep.
So that
I know
one,
that one.
yeah, it was like, it's still one of the top stories and it's been up probably for more than a week now. So we're trying to find more of those. So this is an interesting situation, developing story in terms of there is this wave where we can look almost in the future or in the past based on where other countries are in their response to the epidemic or pandemic and how they're handling it in their countries. So that one did really well. I've tried to kind of take that lead. One of my favorites was I interviewed a American woman who's been living in Shanghai. And so when we think about China now in the US, we're thinking they're, you know, on the other side of this, they're recovering. It's all good over there. But she talked to me a lot about how life is still very, very tightly controlled there. She's still in complete isolation every time and she never had the illness, but every time she leaves the house, she gets her temperature taken. And that kind of foreshadowing of what the US can expect or what we're not going to be doing. But I think those sorts of stories resonate with people a lot because it is what we don't get to do with it, like a hurricane. We can't talk to someone on another side of the world and see exactly how it might affect us.
Right. That's so interesting to hear. So I guess what I'd love to know, because you are on the front lines, you are the ones interviewing these people who have the virus, these doctors. What are you hearing from your reporting about the outlook here? What I hear from what I read is that it's going to get worse, a lot worse, before it gets better. But I'm curious what experts are telling you.
I agree with that. I think it's going to be a couple of months before we're starting to maybe see a little bit of light. And it, of course, is really different in every city. Like Seattle is already ahead of us kind of, and now in New York, we're feeling this. And so I think it's going to be kind of the same waves that we see across the globe are now going to happen within the US. But yeah, I mean, I've had to think about this from a personal perspective because I'm supposed to get married at the end of August. And a month ago, 2 weeks ago, we were kind of like, oh, we'll be fine. You know, it's the people that are getting married in May that might have to cancel or postpone. And now we're really considering that seems to be too risky. Like, I guess, and the other thing that I think gets missed a lot is even if we start to come out of this, and when we start to come out of this, life isn't going to go back to normal right away. We can't go from isolation and only seeing your family members to all of a sudden having a 200-person wedding. Like, then we're just going to deal with this all over again. So it's going to be a really slow rise again to normal life, which could be a year.
Yeah, that's so interesting and helpful to hear. And that's the sense that I'm getting as well. That I think people need to realize that we're in this for the long run, and to be patient and, you know, to rely on great reporting like the kind that you're doing for information. And it's so important that at a time like this, I was thinking today, like, thank God we have journalists who are on the front lines and can give us the information we need while we're all stuck here at home. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing and the important role that you're playing in covering this. My last question is, I know you're looking for experts all day long, every day on this. Tell me about types, like what types of stories are you working on right now, and what types of experts are you in need of?
So I'm more in need of personal anecdotes right now. So one example, I'm working on a story about women and couples who are postponing their fertility treatments because there are now new recommendations that essentially suggest that these procedures are elective, which is controversial. And I've got a lot of fertility specialists and OBGYNs who I've talked to about it, but I'm still looking for women and couples and families to tell me about, what this means for their family planning. So things like that. It's funny because I think a lot of people don't think of their story as, worth telling, however this affects you. And the doctors and the epidemiologists and experts are amazing, and we need those sources. But they're also super busy fighting this really on the ground. And so I think the more personal stories I really love covering, and even just putting that out there as a reflection of what's going on in the world that's not just in the hospitals.
That's so good to know. So for anyone listening, if you think you might have a personal story that you want to share, I feel like just keep folks like Anna in mind, because you are looking for those stories. And I feel like me as a former journalist, we were always looking for those human interest stories as well, because that's how our audience would connect. And so I think it's really important that you are telling those stories. Well, thank you so much, Anna. You have been so generous with your time. I'm so grateful, and I hope you continue to stay well and healthy in these circumstances, and keep on doing the great work that you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you. It is fun to dress up for once and talk to someone. So yeah, I hope you and your audience stays healthy as well. And I know there's nothing else on the news, so I'm sorry. I would like to have a break and watch The Bachelor or something, but even that's not happening anymore. So yeah, go read a book. You don't have to read what me and my colleagues are putting out there, or watch it all the time. If you can take a break, do it.
That is great advice too. Thank you. And that's what I'm doing personally. I'm reading fiction books and I'm watching Tiger King. So
yes, we just started that as well.
You are in for a treat. Well, Anna, thank you so much. Anna Miller of Business Insider. And thank you for those watching on the front lines. I'm Ashley Bernardi, and I will see you next time.